It was at that point that a strange sort of smile came over Jax's face. Well, I may not be able to give you guys a family album or anything like that, but if you want to see your dad, that much I can handle, he said, as he extended his hand. Once again, Rose saw the silver liquid beginning to pool in his hand, forming metallic shapes and a glass coating, it looked like. And in a sudden flash of blue light, Rose saw an image. It looked like a camera view, like a camera was simply looking around inside of a very high-tech, sort of sci-fi looking metal space, like a ship or something like that. She could see hands typing away on what looked like some sort of digital system that she couldn't make heads or tails of. Then she saw what looked like a pop-up or something. It said, "Warning, perimeter breach." Then what appeared to be maps of an area started to display, simply floating in air, overlaid on top of what he was looking at. The camera, that is. That seemed to be from the perspective of, well, someone's eyes. "What the hell?" Rose heard a voice say from the projection. The sound coming out was a voice that she easily recognized. It was Jax's voice. "Ugh, more of them," Jax's voice said from the projection, as he turned, beginning to walk through that sci-fi space, as what appeared to be a door opened, and he began stepping outside of it. There was, well, what looked like a lush forest, filled with trees and plants, flowers that Rose had never seen before, large insects buzzing about, some the size of small dogs or cats, jumping up from the ground and fluttering away as he exited outside of the metal door. And there, in the distance, Rose could see a man with red hair, somewhat shabby-looking green clothing that looked heavily torn and worn in places, slowly walking up at a brisk pace, sort of nonchalantly, looking around as if he was trying to take it all in. "Wow, this is really something you got here," the man said as he approached. "I already told you guys I'll be gone when I'm gone. I'm not planning on sticking around. I came here by accident. It was a crash landing. I have no choice but to be here. Why don't you just get it? I'm not trying to fight you. I already tried to talk some sense into you about the Endure, but since you're having none of it, I really have no choice but to leave. You're only slowing me down by bothering me," Jax's voice shouted out towards the man. Hey, calm down," the man with red hair replied, putting his hands up, gesturing for him to relax a bit. "I'm not here to try to make you go anywhere, bud. I'm actually here because I'm interested. I heard some wild stories about some stranger from a distant world, basically handing a lot of people their asses, but not actually killing any of them. So naturally, I wanted to see what all the fuss was about. And this is something. So this is what technology looks like, right? I've heard that technology does all sorts of strange things. Is that true?" the man said, smiling in Jax's direction, starting to look around, heading for different segments of metal materials that seemed to be placed about. Hey, I'm gonna need you to give that stuff some space," Jax called out. "I'm not exactly trusting this whole be friendly act." "I didn't know being friendly could be an act," the man replied. "Speaking of acts, if you want to see an act, you should go to Shelrera. I'm telling you, it's phenomenal. It's far to the west of here, in the mountains of Jera. The Pyreka people, Once a year, they do a performance at the edge of that mountain that tilts over the sea. Once per year, there's a very specific weather anomaly when wind sweeps in from the sea in uncontrollable amounts. Most of the base of the mountain becomes uninhabitable at that time. But for one day, during the course of this weather phenomenon, there's an ever-present upward gust of wind that sweeps up towards the side of the mountain. And the people who live there have these insect-like wings that glow and leave streaks as they fly around. Little sparkles that follow them about. And during this event, basically all of them just dive off of the cliff. It's crazy. And then they just swirl around for the entire day, dancing about, an endless parade of colors streaking through the sky, little bursts of light here and there. Supposedly it's part of their mating rituals. They go out there and dance in order to attract a mate. But I'd say even if you're not looking to mate, it's still a very impressive show, the man said, approaching Jax even more, once again completely nonchalantly, without a care in the world, walking up to him, a big cheesy smile on his face, his long red unkempt hair completely uncombed, vibrant green eyes, and an extremely friendly nature about him. Rose could not stop staring, as the thoughts in her mind strained only in one direction. This had to be him. This was Rose's father. But how? Rose thought to herself. Was he recording this? Why would he be recording it? Suddenly, she began to hear a sound, the sound of sniffles, as she looked over to see her mother covering her face with both hands, her eyes glued to the projection, unable to stop looking as tears ran down them. Paramus, it's really him, my Paramus. It's been so long since I've seen his face. 16 years. I never thought that I would see it again, Rose's mother said, the teardrops still flowing down her face as she watched the video, the projection floating there. So, that's him? That's my dad, Rose said, looking to her mother. Yes, Rose, that's Paramus, your father. He still has that goofy smile on his face. Blast him, I could never get rid of it. It irritated the daylights out of me. How is this possible? Mary asked, looking over to Jax for a moment as the projection paused, seeming to stop running for a moment. How did you do this? Well, it's pretty simple, actually, Jax replied. Unlike a regular person, my memories aren't restricted to only being seen by me. So long as I remember it, and I remember everything, I can create a projection or encode those memories into data anytime I want, displaying things that I've seen at any point. So right now, what you're seeing is my memory. I'm just able to show other people rather than just having to tell them. Well, there are some perks to being part machine. This is just one of them. Wait, you said that you could produce it as other things, right? Do you think you could make a copy? Rose said, getting on her knees and shuffling towards Jax. Could you do it? She said, excitedly, somewhat frantically, hoping beyond hope that Jax could help her have something to see her father when she wanted to. He smiled and laughed just a little bit. No problem at all, he said, as he extended out his other hand, another swirl of silver beginning to form in the palm, as once again metal parts began to take shape. But this time it didn't appear as if it was the projector like before. Instead, a small squarish shape started to protrude from the palm of his hand. Taking shape, Rose began to realize what it was. It was a USB flash drive, simply sticking out of his hand. There was a small amount of blue pulsating light that seemed to move in its direction for a moment, before stopping as the small silver drive popped out just a little bit, like a videotape out of a VCR. "And there you have it," Jack said. "Go ahead and take it. You should obviously know what it is. It's a flash drive, a very high-tech one. This one contains memories and should be compatible with basically any computer. Just plug in and play. Download them to your computer if you want. Stored on this little flash drive is, well, everything. Every moment I spent with your father, every word we spoke together, every time I even looked at him. It's all recorded right here. You don't have to give me anything or say thank you or promise to do me any favors. But I knew your dad well enough to know that he was a good guy. If anyone deserved to have their kid know who they are, it was him. Quite frankly, I'll consider this a gift to him and to you. Just a little piece of who your father was, saved in time just for you. So go ahead, Rose. Take it." Rose reached down, clasping the edge of the silver flash drive, and with a slight tug, it came free easily. For a moment, she stared at it sitting in her hands. It looked no different from a regular flash drive, and yet it contained something very precious.